Hello there, and welcome to this week's episode of Adding the Alchemy podcast. My name is Angela. I am one of your co-hosts.
And I am Angie. I am your other co-host.
So today I wanted to bring forward one of the lessons that I learned throughout my journey and just kind of talk about it because I see this in the world so much. And it's this idea of unconditional love versus like conditional or transactional love, as I like to call it. And I noticed in my adult friendships recently, I had met a new friend maybe a year or two ago. And when I was making this friendship, forming this friendship, I remember thinking that, oh, well, she's going to be more my friend than her other friends. Or how can I make myself more important in her life than her other friends? And I was aware enough at this point to realize what am I thinking? Like what's happening here? And I remember thinking like she used to bring her dog to my house and I would dog sit her dog while she was at work during the day. And I would think, yeah, she loves her dog. So by me babysitting her dog, that means she probably likes me more than her other friends at this point.
Mm.
And this was all like such a subconscious thing. And I had to stop and be like, what? It was a very transactional based friendship that I was creating here. And it took me a while to understand that this was all part of that, the way I found my power in the world. And it was a lot of my solar plexus energy of, somewhere along the line as a child, I gave my power up to people and I had to work and do things and be certain ways to earn their love or to be friends with them or whatever. And this also goes back to a few episodes ago when I was talking about the different characters that I was playing, because that transactional love, transactional friendships also is I created these characters to have those transactions with people. So it was like I always had to be special. And I also remember as a kid, um, I used to sit in my room and I would think about all of the people that my mom would put before me. And it was so silly looking back, but like I legit felt like that. Like I was like everybody was being put before me. And I had now as a grown up, I can say, well, that's not really true. Like I know that wasn't true, but I still had that feeling in me. So yes, I could do the mindset shifts. I could say, okay, yeah, that wasn't true, obviously, whatever. And then every time that comes up, just no, that's not true. That's not true, and shift it. But I still had that emotion inside of me holding on to that and coming up in these little ways, like the dog situation, dog sitting situation. So all of these things showed me that like, and also, the world, we kind of have this idea in the world that in order to be a good citizen, you have to follow all the laws. In order to be a good Christian, you have to follow the Bible and have in all these things. And when you look at religion, and I know part of my journey is the religion showing me that I was not loved. Well, I was loved, but if you follow these commandments, then you'll be really loved.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you follow these commandments, then you won't burn in hell forever.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you follow these, and if you don't follow these commandments, then, well, sorry, you're going to be in the fire for eternity or whatever. So if we really break it down into all these things that we're shown as children and given the information we're given as children, it shows us that love is conditional and love is transactional, even though they will, it will be love your neighbor unconditionally and da 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 da. But I'm going to make a bold statement and say that many, 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 many people in this world, probably most people, even if you think you're loving unconditionally, you're probably wanting something in return from that love.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's something, very small, subconscious, that you don't go into a relationship. I didn't go into this friendship thinking that I wanted to be her top friend and I wanted to, none of that. This was all a very subconscious process that made me almost fear abandonment even, so this is where the root of my people pleasing issues came in also, trying to make sure that people liked me and were happy with me and it was exhausting. And I didn't even know it was exhausting,
Mm-hmm.
we're so like conditioned to be this way that when we finally come out of it, it's like, oh my gosh, why was I doing that? You know?
Yeah.
So,
It's very much ingrained in us that we have to do something to be worthy of receiving the love.
mhm,
And if we don't do something, then how in the world can we be worthy of it?
mhm,
And that's not what we're supposed to believe. That's not what we're supposed to feel. But so many of us, because of the
mhm.
way that we were brought up, that's very much ingrained in us on a subconscious level, and we don't even realize it.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, that's what we're taught as children to do. And then when we grow older and we're looking for a spouse or adult friendships, we're literally replaying those same patterns. But so many times they're so subconscious. I would say that when I was younger, like late teens, early 20s, I had a really bad lying problem. I used to lie all the time. And I realized after I became aware of this issue that I was lying to manipulate or to make sure that I could get my way because I didn't feel powerful enough to just be like, hey, no, this is what I'm doing, or this is what I want, or anything like that. So I would lie to make those around me feel happy with my decisions. And when I broke that down, I it was a very transactional thing that I was doing because I had to be this way, this way, this way, and this way in order to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would lie to make it look like I was that. So a lot of people in my early 20s didn't really know the real me. I didn't really know the real me.
Mm-hmm.
you know because I spent so much of my time lying to make people comfortable with what I was doing, comfortable with my decisions, because my decisions were not the best decisions at that time, but they were absolutely necessary for me to learn. Because you know at one point in the world, we won't need these bad decisions to learn, but right now that's how we learn. At some point in the future, we'll know all of this without having to do these, go into these rabbit holes of pain and suffering and all that, because you always hear in the world that pain and suffering are needed in order to learn lessons, but that's an old world paradigm. That is something that we are living now, and we lived then because we had no other way to understand and to learn those things. And I don't believe that'll be, you know, anyways, I'm getting off a subject, but yeah, I don't believe that will be a thing in the future. So
Yeah, but that's because we're doing the work now.
yes.
We're removing all of that ancestral trauma from our
Mhm.
bodies, from our
Yep.
DNA, from the generational lines. We're doing the work now to remove that so the future generations will have a different experience.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I very much understand what you're saying. And I don't think that I realized this about myself until a few years ago when I entered into the relationship with my husband. And at that time, I was not working. I was just beginning this deep healing journey. I had left my teaching career, and I really struggled with the fact that because I wasn't working, I wasn't bringing anything to the relationship. It was
Yep.
like, what am I offering to this? What am I bringing? What is my part? I'm not doing anything. So, how can I be worthy of receiving his love? And I
Mm-hmm.
struggled with that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he continued to show me again and again that I didn't need to do anything to be
Yeah.
worthy of that. He loved me completely just for who I am, just
Mm-hmm.
for my existence. And he has shown me that continuously in the times when I have done nothing but sit on the sofa and literally exist like a lump on a log and do nothing. And he still loves me completely. And I had a really hard time wrapping my brain around like that. I didn't understand
Yep.
because I had never experienced that type of love before where I could be loved like that without having to give anything in return. And I just didn't get it. And
Mm-hmm.
after the constant, reinforcement and living in this for several years, I'm I'm finally starting to accept that, yeah, this is real, and I don't have to do anything, and I am completely loved and adored just for the fact that I exist on this planet, and it doesn't
Yes.
need to. It doesn't need to be more than that, but it really is amazing how we don't understand this, how our lives have been so transactional, our relationships have been so conditional, even in childhood, even when we were fighting to get the attention that we so desperately wanted and we couldn't get it. It's like, what do I have to do to get this? What do I
Yep.
have to do to earn this? Why don't these people love me? When you come from homes that are very broken, I came from a very broken home, broken multiple times over. And um, it was, kind of like you mentioned, your mom put so many other people before you, or at least that's what you
But it
experienced at
felt,
the time.
yeah.
At the time, that's
Mm-hmm.
what you experienced. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, wow, what do I have to do? So you
Yeah.
spend your whole life trying to figure out, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? Well, if I do this, if I do that, if I do three other things, if I become somebody that I'm completely not,
Yes.
maybe I can get this love and attention in return.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did the exact same thing. And it's taken me 48 years to finally allow myself to be the person that I really am and to accept the person that I really am and to know that I am completely worthy
Mm-hmm.
of all the love the world has to give me.
Yeah. And my home very much was not broken. So for so long I was like, why do I have these thoughts, and why is my life like this, Because the world pretty much says too, like, if you come from a broken home, if your parents were abusive, if blah 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 blah. And my parents weren't like technically abusive by the world standards. They're not abusive. They're not, it's not, so I was hard on myself about that too, but also I see these kids on TikTok. Like, I see the parents, and there's this one little girl or this dad and daughter that I follow, and she's so cute, and she does these little like songs or whatever, and she's so cute to watch. But I'm thinking, like, she's gonna grow up thinking that she has to be a performer in order to receive love, because I mean, I don't know for sure, but like, just the like looking at it, I'm thinking like, okay, I wonder if this is the time they have together. This is their bonding time. This is the father-daughter bonding time. And you're being a performer right now.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to take that into the world, and she's going to think, you know, she has to perform to receive love or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
perform some way.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at all these kids on TikTok, and I'm like, that makes me sad, because they don't even know, like, yes, they're technically like consenting to it, but they don't know what they're consenting to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's it's just really interesting when you become aware of this and you start looking around and seeing, and then this also comes into support and being supported. And like, oh, well, I have to do something, support has been a big thing that's coming up for me lately, and thinking like I have to the same thing, like do this in order for someone to support me. I have to make sure that I pay them, but not only pay them, but pay them very well so that they'll support me
Mm-hmm.
instead of, giving and receiving each to each other,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, and not only that, but now we're like exploiting humans and, paying people less than their worth. I guess I don't really like to say worth a certain amount of money because no.
Right.
But, like we're exploiting humans now, all for
Mm-hmm.
this transactional, let's see how much we can get out of them so that we can make more profit. Let's see how little we can pay them and how much we can make them do to get more profit. It's just the whole world is built on this transactional thing, and it's for enforced every single day on the news and all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
Yeah.
everywhere.
It's
We're
really
living.
it's at the base of our existence.
Yes.
It is.
I and I think now enough of us are waking up to this power, because basically as children we're all, most of us, our power is squished down and we live through life like that. So then when we're this is being enforced to us, like we're just assuming like, okay, this is just how life is. No, this is exactly what we're trying to change in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't want to see a world anymore, because this is how it's been for years and years and years. And I know that we can do it differently. We can do it differently. And yeah, it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
on a world level, on a, on a government level, on a job level, like that's going to take a long time, I think, to see those big shifts that we're looking to see. But as far as within ourselves, and within understanding that we don't have to uh, provide something to be worthy of receiving. I think it's important to get to that place where you understand that about yourself, and so you can operate a little bit differently in your individual relationships. Now, that's
mhm,
not to say that you can't ever do anything. Of course, relationships are all about give and take.
yeah,
Every both sides. It has to be in balance. It can't be constantly totally out of
right.
balance. It has to balance out eventually. But just to understand that you don't have to do a certain thing to be worthy of being loved. I think that is the core of the issue there. Or you don't have to do a certain thing to be worthy of, being in this friendship with this person. Um, it's not about what you bring to the table. It's just about who you are. It's just about your aura, your vibe, your light. It's just
Mhm,
about, enjoying being in someone's presence. It's
yeah,
not about what they can do for you or what
yeah.
you
And I
can
think,
do for them.
yeah, and we look at dogs. I mean, this is like the ultimate unconditional love
Yeah.
pick right here, and I do truly believe that, animals are here to show us the unconditional love, because I have two dogs and they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, that they lay next to me when I'm having a bad day or whatever, but they've never said a word to me. They've never taken out the trash. They've never made me dinner.
Yeah.
All of the things that like marriages, like I want a man who cooks and a man da 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 da. They've never done any of that.
Yeah.
And I love them so unconditionally, and I think about it is even like the unconditional love is literally just like it's just a frequency, and when I lay there and when I'm sitting there with them it's just like this frequency that's running through us. And
Mm-hmm.
we're connected by love. I don't have to be like, oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. It's just the frequency of love that we're all living in together. And it's just, the dogs have taught me so much about life and just what unconditional love truly means. Because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter, I've accidentally kicked my dog and they probably don't know the difference between kicking and whatever. I'm not saying if someone kicks you that you should, you should stay in their presence, but being in their presence and loving them is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
My dog and they're laying and nuzzling right up to me the next moment. And with people, it's like, okay, if somebody's kicking you, don't stay in their presence, but you can still love them unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest part is learning to love people unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order to love other people unconditionally, you have to love yourself unconditionally. And
Mm-hmm.
as I'm going through this journey, I see the more I love myself, the more I can look at the person standing on the corner with a sign and just love them instead
Mm-hmm.
of for not having a job or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I love myself, the more I've given myself compassion and all of those things, the more I see love in other people because they are reflecting that love for myself back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the same things with the dogs. They are reflecting my own love for myself back to me
Mm-hmm.
because they are at that frequency of love. So it's not only, we're worthy of everything just for being here.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go into that, we'll start to see our relationships with other people changing and the judgments of other people and all of that. So unconditional love for others comes from unconditional love for yourself.
And that's what this whole journey is about. That's what
And,
this entire healing journey is about, is coming back to yourself, to actually finding out who you really are and truly loving that person, because we are taught to love everybody else and to
yep,
do for everybody else, but
yep,
we are not taught to love
mhm,
ourselves, and we are not taught to do for ourselves. We're actually taught the opposite. We're
absolutely.
taught to put ourselves last. We're
Mhm,
taught to be selfless. We're taught to sacrifice ourselves for the good of others. We're taught to give up everything and give it all away to everybody else.
yep.
And that's the complete opposite of what we need to be doing. And that's why this journey is so hard, because it's so ingrained in us from day one that we need to put ourselves last and put everybody else first. And that is not the way. That is not the way. So,
Especially women.
oh, yes, especially women.
I, mothers. I see mothers that are giving and giving and giving and giving, and they're exhausted and they don't have anything else to give for themselves. And we're teaching this so backwards. If we could give it to ourselves first, give ourselves the love, because this is kind of a difficult concept to wrap your head around when you're seeing like, these charities. People are giving to charities and giving food and giving clothing and giving all the things to charities, thinking like this is this is how I show love and I love these people. And but I don't know, it's such a weird concept to wrap your head around because the more you love yourself, the more like it's not even about material things. That's again transactional. You're giving, 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 but you're not actually like loving. At that point, I mean, most people give to charity to feel a certain way. They don't give to charity because they love humanity or
Right.
they love, whatever. They give to charity for tax breaks or because I want to feel good about what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking it a step farther.
Yep.
You know, I see it all the time.
Or
Or
because I can say, I give to this charity. Because I can
absolutely.
tell other people, oh, I support this group. I give to this group. I donate here. Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's again transactional, because if one of those people that received some of that food came up to you and said, and even tried to have a conversation, how would you act? What would you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pro- you probably run away, or who knows?
Yeah. You
You
know
probably,
what's interesting is you bring up this whole charity thing, and what it brings to mind is now like every store you go to on the on on the little card thing, you swipe your card to pay, and it's like, do you want to round up to give to this? Do you want to donate $1 to this? Do you want to donate $1 to this? And every time I'm like, nope, nope, nope. And the cashier is looking at you like you're just horrible because you won't round up your bill to donate to whatever. Do you at the grocery store, do you want to give $1 to kids school supplies? Nope, I sure don't. I paid for my own kids school supplies. I taught school for 20 years. No, I paid my debt. I'm not interested in paying for school supplies for anybody else. No. The only and I have no qualms about it. The only place that I will actually give the dollar to is PetSmart, because yeah, for the dogs I will give the dollar. But yeah, it's just funny how they expect you to give every time you turn around, and if you don't, it's like, well, how horrible are you?
see, and I've actually had the thought every time I push no, like, wow, I can't even, like, it's 52 cents. Like, why am I not? But that's exactly it. Like,
Yeah.
I can love these children unconditionally without giving them $1. And I know that sounds so opposite of what this world says.
Yeah.
Like, if you love somebody and they are in need of $100, you should give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, it's there's instances when maybe I would, I don't know, but I'm not, so I have actually felt that, like, wow. And I know that's exactly what they want you to
They want
feel.
you to feel
Or
that way. Yes, they want you to
the
feel that way.
the commercials with the dogs and the rain and all of that, and then they're like,
Yeah.
for 12.99 a month you can da 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 da, and it's exploitation, because I'm telling you, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
No, I feel you. Yeah.
oh, the money is just, you can give all day, but that's not going to change the problem we have in this world, and that's the conditional parameters we put on love. Because you can love a murderer the same way you can love a saint.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard for the human brain to wrap our heads around.
Mm-hmm.
But the love you have for a murderer and a saint are the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying go sit in a, you know, invite the murderer over to your house. It's you can unconditionally love somebody. And this was the same thing with, a friend that I had to part ways with. I love this person. We've been through a lot in all of that, but I don't need them in my life anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't even say need. I don't want them in my life anymore, because we were just toxic for each other. We weren't, it was not a good situation. But and it was hard for me at first because I was thinking, like, I kicked this person out of my life, and like, how horrible am I when they needed help and they blah blah blah. But no, I had to pour to me into me first, and that person was not someone I want around me, but I still love them.
Mm-hmm.
I love them so much, but I can't be in your presence.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
that's okay. And to acknowledge that you can love another person and still know that you don't need them in your life. You have love for them, but you need separation from them. You love them and you wish them well and go on their way, but it's come to an end.
mm-hmm.
And that's not just about romantic relationships.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just one more thing, I mentioned at the beginning, religion. And this, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and it basically was that, I have to do unconditionally things for my husband, and I have to give and do this and do that. And, we read these stories about Jesus, about how he gave and gave and gave. And, you know, if if we're sitting here thinking that Jesus gave everything all the time and didn't have money and didn't like receive money, and I mean, I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just basically just like, Mother Teresa. She gave and gave and gave. And you don't think Mother Teresa was flying in jets or
Yeah.
uh you know
Yeah.
like that's so we're basically looking at all these stories and all these like amazing people and thinking like we just have to give. We have to be like Jesus, and we just have to give and 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 give.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through the Bible and it's just like continuously reiterating that over and over and over. And you have to be this way and do this and say this. And if you don't repent, and if you don't da 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 da. So I think a lot of this starts with religion.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I spent a whole lot of years very deeply ingrained in the Southern Baptist Church, very deeply ingrained. And I will say that that did more damage to my self-worth than anything else that I ever experienced. And I experienced some things in life that were were pretty damaging. But the what I was taught in the church, um, that I think for me was the hardest to come back from, because I believed genuinely that because I was born on this earth, I deserved hell and everything in it.
Yep.
And to come out of that belief
Mm-hmm.
was probably one of the hardest transitions that I had to make, to understand the complete opposite of that. Because I was born on this earth, I deserve all the love in the world.
And the worthiness.
Yes. And yeah. So yeah, the church did a great amount of damage to me.
Yeah. And so, and when we're little children, our foundation at that point is self-love. We're loving ourselves. We're, exploring this world and loving ourselves. And then many of us are sent to these religious schools and sent to church and all these things, where now they're going to cover up that foundation with the foundation of God. So now we're taking the foundation of love for ourselves, and we're making it the foundation of love for God.
Mm-hmm.
So now our foundation is some looking to someone else's power,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
clinging on to someone else for power, because we don't
Mm-hmm.
have any, we're powerless without God, and
Mm-hmm.
all these things that we're taught. So at a very young age, our self-love is replaced with love for someone else. So then
Yep.
we spend our whole lives trying to find someone else to love us, because we don't have the power ourselves, until we do, until we wake up and we're like, wait a second, wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm this does not feel good to me. I don't like what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I have power.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just that foundation is manipulated by religion,
Yeah.
and the major ways that the beast, the devil, I mean, whatever you want to call it, to me, this is what I see, like fear taking over, because religion is very much fear based.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not aware,
Mm-hmm.
become aware of it, and you start like looking at religion for what it is, and you're reading religion, the Bible, from an awareness perspective, you can see now that, or you can interpret it differently, you know
Mm-hmm.
but we are our foundation is manipulated to a foundation of fear at a
Mm-hmm.
very young age,
Mm-hmm.
most of us.
Yes.
So then we take years and years and years trying to find ourselves again,
Mm-hmm.
you know find our power again.
And
And this is
undo
what
it all.
blocks in the bottom three chakras because we don't feel safe in our own power. We're doing things to receive love. And to receive worthiness and all these things when just being born into this world and being a piece of God, like you're freaking worthy now, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot, but
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. But there's a lot of deep pieces to all of that, and we have to unravel them one at a time. And it's not a fast process and it's not an easy process, but we keep going through it. We keep doing it
yeah,
and we keep getting better.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're humanity.
Yes. Yeah.
One belief at a time. So, all right. Well, I think we have a good conversation today. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah. No, I think we covered a lot. That was a
Yeah.
whole lot said in a little bit of time there. Yeah. So
Yeah. And connecting with either of us, we have the link in our show notes has our how to connect with us on different platforms. We try to put out an episode every week. Sometimes it's every other week. Sometimes we go on a little hiatus.
yeah.
Also, if there's something you want to hear us talk about, please send us an email. We are always open to new discussions. Yeah. So it
Okay.
was great here and great to have this conversation. So
Okay, great. We'll see you next time.
bye.